In this video, I'd like to address some common struggles students have with the planer. First, how do you know what the table height is? Well, the indicator is right here. But to read it, you'll need to know the fractions of the inch. So if you struggle with this concept, don't hesitate to ask someone to verify your height setting. Second, what do you do if the board gets stuck? Sometimes the board may pause slightly because the feed rollers aren't getting a good grip on the board. This problem may be solved by giving the board a bit of a push as it feeds into the planer. If this doesn't work though, you should not shut off the planer, even though this may be your first instinct. This will cause the cutter head to come to a stop as the knives continue to strike the board. First, you must lower the table, then shut off the machine. If the board persists in getting stuck, you will likely need to raise the table rollers. To do so, you need to loosen this black lever, and then you're going to raise this other lever halfway to 3/4 between the two arrows. These rollers must be raised because your board is either edge glued with offsets like this, or it's rough sawn board like this. These require the rollers to be raised to increase contact with the feed rollers to provide a smoother feed through the machine. I must clarify though, if your board does not lie flat, like this warped board, you will need to first surface your board on the joiner. A warped board will likely not plane out to have two parallel surfaces. Here I'll show you how raising the table rollers can help feed the board through. As you can see, with the rollers low, the board gets stuck. I lower the table to get the board back. I set the height of the table to the correct height again. Now I raise the table rollers, and the board feeds through easily. As you can see though, raising the rollers increases the snipe on the board. You can see this faint line where there's a divot. It also makes your board slightly thinner than what the table height indicator says, because the table rollers raise the board above the surface of the table. To solve this problem, after you've sent your board through once on each surface, you can lower your table rollers back down to decrease snipe and make your cut more accurate. So with the table rollers up, snipe is very clear. To minimize snipe, I lower the rollers back down after my first pass on the surface. Now you can see the snipe is much less defined. Now some of you may rightfully say, but the board still has snipe. So the last question is, how do I avoid snipe and chipping in my board? Some chipping and snipe is unavoidable. This is why we always keep the table height turned a half turn or 1/32 of an inch thicker than our finished thickness, so we can remove these defects on the drum sander. So once we set our height to finished thickness, we want to back it off a half turn so the board remains thicker than final thickness.